Hello all, welcome to Quantitative Online's GRE live prep sessions. Today we are going to look at the verbal section in the GRE test and look at what are all or learn about what to expect in this section, what are the things that we need to understand before even starting our preparation. So the session in a nutshell is all about what, why and how of the verbal reasoning. Before we start getting into the session, I would like you people to get accustomed to the interface. In case you are attending this session from the YouTube channel, please use the links that are available on the chat and come into the main session page so that you would be able to participate in the discussions and also participate especially in the in-class quizzes. People who are already on this channel, on the page which is the GRE live prep session page, if you are coming for the second time or the third time, definitely you know the contents on this page, but for people who are joining us for the first time, I'll just take a minute and ensure that you are familiar with all the components on the page. At the top, you would be viewing the video. Now, if you scroll down a little bit, the second section where it is written as in-class quiz, you should be able to see a message saying that questions to test your understanding are on the way, sit tight. So this is the place where the questions would start appearing once we are into the session. This next part is the discussion part where you can type in your comments and I would be able to view. So in case you have any specific doubts that you would like me to answer, then please go ahead and use the comment section. Now in this section, also understand that if you don't want everyone else to view it and only me to view that comment, you can actually use the facilities that are offered by Google Plus and you can do so. So you have a choice between posting the comment in public or only addressed to me. Either way, I would like to take up as many doubts as possible and try to solve or resolve your doubts. Coming back, scroll up. Hello, good evening and welcome to Quantitative Online's live prep sessions. These are the pre-actual course sessions that we are doing so that you people would be familiar with the interface and the interaction once we go into the actual sessions would be much better. As I said, the three components that you would be using continuously are the video where I am speaking or we would be explaining and we can understand looking at things which are there on the screen. That's the video part. The second part is the in-class quiz and the third part is the discussion. So these are the three elements that we would be using to ensure that you get as much value out of the session as possible. Do as a trial, go back and say hi. So using the discussion so that I would be able to see your comments and I also would be able to see your name so that it would be much more personalized and a customized interaction that can happen. Also for you people to get accustomed to the in-class quiz, I'm going to post one question. So let us see if you are able to view that question and then answer it and then we will get into the session. I am posting the question right now. What is your current occupation? By now, if you scroll down, you would be able to see a question which is being broadcasted. If it is not, please let me know using the comments. By now, you should be able to see the question on your screens. What is your current occupation is basically talking about what you are at this point of time. You can select one of the options which is applicable to you. Either you are studying or you are working, or it is not applicable for you, this question. Please go ahead and submit your answer so that I get to know the composition. Now, I see a few of you are working and a few of you are studying. So wonderful. That is a good mix of all of you who are there today on this session. Let me come back to today's session now. Now, when we are looking at the what, why and how of the GRE section, what is GRE all about? And where does the verbal part of it find its place in the GRE exam? Now, if you look at the definition of what GRE is all about, GRE defines it as a test that checks your logical, analytical and reasoning abilities. It doesn't say I'm testing your mathematics, I'm testing your English. It in fact says I'm testing your logical thought process and your ability to look at multiple perspectives. That is what we call as the reasoning ability, using mathematics and English. So when we talk about the verbal reasoning measure, the most important word in that is not just verbal, in fact it is the reasoning part. And similarly, in quantitative reasoning measure, the important word is that reasoning. So what exactly is the GRE test all about? Now, if you are a person who is come to know about GRE for the first time, you have never seen what GRE is all about, let us very quickly spend a couple of minutes on understanding what are all the components in the computer-based test that we are talking about. The computer-based test has 6 sections. Now, most of us, whenever we look at a GRE test, there might be a mistake in understanding the number of sections. People might say there is 1 analytical writing section, 2 verbal reasoning sections and 2 quantitative reasoning sections. Therefore, there are only 5 sections. People forget about one concept which is called as the research section. Now, GRE says it can give a research section either by telling you that it is a research section, then we call it as an identified research section, or it tells you that I'm not going to tell you where or when the research section is there, and it says I'm not going to tell you, and that is what we call as the unidentified research. So when we talk about the research section versus where identified versus unidentified, what is the difference? An identified research section is told to you that this is a research section and it is there at the end of the exam. And if it is unidentified, then it can be there at any place after the first section. So if you look at the GRE test, it has broadly divided into sections. The first section is always going to be the analytical writing section. The second section can be either quant or verbal. Similarly, the 4th, 5th, 6th sections can all be quant or verbal, but finally at the end of the day you will be having either 3 quant, 2 verbal, or 2 quant, 3 verbal sections. Why am I emphasizing on this? Why am I talking about it on the first day in an introductory session? Whenever we are preparing for any exam, especially a competitive exam like GRE, we need to understand that everything about the test we should be knowing before even our preparation, because the focus of our preparation should be to achieve the goal that we are setting in the GRE exam. So it is imperative that on the day of the exam you don't have any surprises. And GRE is one exam that believes that if you are prepared completely, it will not give you any surprises. All the question patterns, all the time limits or the section limits or the kind of the test features, the way the test looks on the screen are all predefined and are told to you, in fact, 1 year in advance or more. So there are no changes going to be there until and unless they declare 1 year before. In such a scenario, it is therefore important for us to understand everything about the exam so that we don't find any surprise elements on the day of the exam. If you are mentally prepared for only 5 sections, then on the day of the exam you will unnecessarily become perturbed. That should not be the case. So 6 sections, 1 AW, 2 or 3 quant and 3 or 2 verbal. This is the composition of the test. When we talk about the verbal section now, what exactly is going to be there in the verbal section? Let me come back to the slide, and then before even I move forward, I would be broadcasting one more question, and let me see if you are able to answer this. I know that a few of you are working and a few of you are studying. So people who are studying especially, please answer this question which is going to be there on the screen right now. It's a question asking when are you completing your graduation. So if you are able to see the question right now, please go ahead and answer it. If you have already graduated before 2018, please go ahead and let me know. Or if you are currently studying, then do let me know. By now the question would have been there on your screen, so let me know what should be the answer choice. Yes, I have people who are in final year, on pre-final year, and also who have graduated. Wonderful. I'm now going to put in one more question now that is mostly relevant from the verbal reasoning perspective. What do you think is a good score in verbal reasoning? Is it 140 plus? Is it 145 plus? Is it more than 150 or is it more than 160? What's a good score? Rather, what should be your goal in the verbal section of the GRE? Now, most of you have said it is 150 plus to 160 plus. This is where we need to understand how verbal reasoning section is treated by the GRE exam. When we talk about the GRE exam and the verbal section, and when we say there is a total good score overall is, let us say, 320 plus, people immediately think that it is quant 160 and verbal 160, which is not the case. Usually for most of the master's programs, because they are going to be slightly research oriented programs, a basic bias is shown towards the quant. So quant, usually a good score or a very, very good score is around 165 plus, or you can actually go to 166 plus. And the verbal score is the rest of the part in that 320. So it is not 160 and 160, it would be around 154. So anything above 150 plus is considered a very good score in the verbal section. The way the universities look at between the quantitative reasoning and the verbal reasoning is, in quantitative reasoning, they ask a question, how good you are. So however much the score is higher, it is much better. In verbal reasoning, their first question is, do you have enough for me to give you an admission? And that qualifying is usually starting for a lower ranked, or almost all the average ranked universities, it is around 145 plus. So anything more than 145 plus should be your first target. And then you should keep on maximizing the score. Because why is the verbal score again important? Not just for the admission, but for the assistantships when the college or the university wants to take a decision whom to give a scholarship or an assistantship and whom not to, it goes back and checks the verbal scores. So yes, most of you have said 150 plus is a very good score. That is what you should be aiming at. But even if you are looking at 145 to 146 plus to start with, it is a good start. You don't need to become unnecessarily overwhelmed and unnecessarily worried that I am coming from a weak English background, therefore I might not be able to score 150 plus or 160 plus. So your agenda, if you are strong in English background, then you should be focusing or aiming at a score of 150 plus. If you are not very strong in English, then you should start somewhere with 140 plus scores and try to maximize and increase as you move forward into your preparation. Yes. So what else is then important? We also have one more doubt. And what is that doubt? The doubt is, what are all the kinds of things that I need to prepare for? What is the syllabus that I am looking at? If I have to get this 140 plus score or 150 plus score, what is the syllabus in the verbal reasoning? Now, again, this is one question which is slightly different when compared to the verbal reasoning, the quantitative reasoning section. In quantitative reasoning, it is easy for all of us to understand the syllabus, yes, percentages or algebra or geometry and what varieties of questions are usually asked. But in English, it is slightly difficult to say this is the syllabus. Now, the next few minutes, we will understand exactly what is the syllabus. So what exactly is the syllabus for the verbal reasoning? It depends upon what kinds of questions are asked in the exam. Now, even before I tell you, if you know what are the varieties of the questions, then can you actually solve or answer this question that is there now on your screens? What kinds of questions are you expecting in the verbal section of GRE? Are there going to be synonyms? Are there going to be antonyms? Or are there going to be fill in the blanks? Or all the above? What are the varieties of questions that are going to be there in the verbal reasoning section? Now, a few of you have said that all the above are there. And a few of you have said that only reading comprehension is there. So what are all the varieties of questions that are going to be there? Now let us understand what exactly are these questions. GRE, as I said, is a test that doesn't give you any surprises. It has, first of all, declared that there are only going to be 7 varieties of questions in the verbal reasoning section. What are these 7 varieties? And what exactly do we mean by a section? The verbal reasoning section has 20 questions in one section. And the time given to you is 30 minutes. Now within this 30 minutes, you can move forward, go back. You can also look at various questions and say, this is tough. If time is there, I will come back to it. Let me skip this question. You can, as I said, move forward without attempting. And later you can come back and spend time on this question that you have skipped. You might also have second thoughts and change the answer to a question that you have already attempted. Again, that is possible within this 30 minutes for these 20 questions. Then what are these 20 questions? The 20 questions are going to be 7 varieties. And what are these 7 varieties? The basic division is the fill in the blank questions and the reading comprehension questions. That means these are the sentence based questions and these are the paragraph based questions. These are the only two varieties of questions that are there. So within these two questions, these two sets of questions, then what should be the rest of the details? Let us look at them. In the fill in the blanks, you have something called as text completion question. Now this is a GRE ETS question. I have shown it only for the purpose of representation to ensure that you understand how the question looks like. So this is called as a one blank text completion. Why am I calling it as one blank? Because there is only one blank to fill. Why is it called as a text completion? Because you need to complete this entire sentence or more than one sentence using the options. Now, how many options are given here? 5 options are given. And how many correct answers are there? Only one correct answer. Either this one, only one of these 5 is a correct answer choice. So, one blank text completion is having a sentence or more than one sentence given with one blank, 5 options and one correct answer. The second variety of the fill in the blank question is a two blank text completion. Because it is again text completion, it is very similar. There are now 2 blanks to fill this text and complete this text. For each blank, now if you have observed, there are only 3 options. And there is only rather one correct answer for each blank. Yes? Now, when we talk about my 2 blanks, do understand that for each blank I can separately select the first option, and for the second blank I can separately select the third option. So it is not that they are paired, no. For this blank, these are individual options, and for the other set of blanks, the set of the options are individual. So there is no connection between these 2. What about the 3 blank text completion? Now, yes, you should be able to understand immediately what is a 3 blank. Yes, there is a 3 blank text completion question. 3 blanks. And for each blank, 3 options, not 5 options. For each blank, 3 options and only one correct answer. So now, what about the last variety of the fill in the blank question? This is called not as a text completion, but as a sentence equivalence. This always will have only one sentence. Now, if you look at the previous questions, in the text completion, you can have one sentence or more than one sentence. But in a sentence equivalence question, there will always be only one sentence and only one blank. However, the options which are given are 6 options. And out of these, you need to select 2 correct answers. So if you look at the way the oval is given, this is what is given also in the main exam. And a square is given, not an oval. Let me correct myself. Whenever there is a square which is given, GRE tells you that there is more than one correct answer. It can be in quantitative reasoning or it can be in verbal reasoning. The minute you see a square here, it means that there is more than one correct answer. So now what is this sentence equivalence is all about? You need to select 2 correct answers that will ensure that the meaning of the sentence is the same. We will talk about the tips and tricks to solve this variety of questions in the relevant sessions. But today, as I said, the purpose is to have an overview of the entire verbal reasoning section. So for now, if you have been able to understand these varieties of the fill in the blanks questions, you would be able to answer this question very quickly. The question that I'm going to put it on the screen right now is checking whether you have understood what we have discussed right now. How many varieties of fill in the blank questions do you find in the verbal section of GRE? Is it 2 varieties of fill in the blanks? Is it 3 varieties of fill in the blanks? Or is it 4 varieties of fill in the blanks? How many varieties of fill in the blanks are there now in the verbal section? It's a simple question just to check whether you have followed. If there is any confusion in your mind, yes, it is the right answer is 4 varieties, the 3 varieties of text completion and 1 variety of sentence equivalence, total 4 varieties of fill in the blanks. What is the other variety of the questions that you find in the verbal reasoning section? It is the reading comprehension question. In a reading comprehension question, if you look at it, the passage is given to you, and if the passage is longer, there is a scroll bar that comes in here, and you would only be able to just scroll down, but the passage is always going to be there in front of you. You are not required to remember the things which are there in the passage. The passage is not going to disappear from the screen. The passage is going to be there continuously on the screen. What else is there? The minute there is a reading comprehension based question, there is going to be a passage or a paragraph, one paragraph, multiple paragraphs, very long passage or a short passage, and questions based on that. So the question which is there is going to appear on the right side here, and the options are provided. Whenever you see an oval here, there is only one correct answer. Again, this is relevant across the GRE test, so it is both relevant for quantitative reasoning and verbal reasoning. It is one correct answer whenever there is an oval. So first variety of a reading comprehension question is a multiple choice question with one correct answer. And now what would be the second variety? You are right, it is multiple choice but more than one correct answer, and there is a passage, there is a question which is there, and the options which are provided. And the last variety of the reading comprehension question is what we call as selecting a sentence from the paragraph. It gives you a question and you are asked to select one of the sentences. Like for example, this is one sentence, and then this is the next sentence which is there. So there are multiple sentences here in this paragraph, in this passage, and you are asked to select the sentence. It is nothing but a slightly varied multiple choice question with only one answer correct, but instead of providing you the options this side, they are asking you to select the sentence that satisfies a particular question which is being posed here. These are the 3 varieties of reading comprehension question that completes our 7 varieties of questions. So if you go back and look at what are all the varieties of questions, to very quickly summarize, there are going to be 7 varieties divided into the fill in the blank questions and the reading comprehension questions, 4 varieties of fill in the blank questions, and 3 varieties of reading comprehension questions. Now let us quickly see if you are able to answer a couple of questions, because even if you are not asking me a doubt for that, you might still have this at the back of your mind, and let us clarify such doubts so that you don't have at any point of time any surprise on the day of the exam. I am putting a question right now on the screen. It talks about very quickly whether you have understood each of these questions or not. The question is now there on the screen, so please go ahead and try to answer it. The question reads as, in the one blank text completion, how many options are given and how many correct answers are there? This is one blank text completion, so carefully look at the options that are provided to you and select a right answer. The question is, in the one blank text completion, how many options are there? There are 5 options. And how many correct answers are there? There is only one correct answer. So I am assuming that you would have been able to answer this quickly. Let me see if you are able to answer one more question. Now this is about the 2 blank and 3 blank text completion. Now the question reads slightly different. In 2 blank and 3 blank text completion, you can select the option for each blank individually. Now, for people who are viewing this on YouTube, do note that you would be able to participate in the in-class quiz with the questions which are being posed if you are coming into the live session page. The link is available on the chat, so please go ahead, use that link to come to the session page, and that is where you would be able to find the in-class quiz. In case the first time you are coming onto the screen and you are not able to view the question, please refresh the page, you would be able to then see the quiz. So what is the question? In 2 blank and 3 blank text completion, you can select the option for each blank individually. Is it true? Yes, it is true. Most of you have answered that as the right answer. Wonderful, that is right. Now let us see if you are able to answer one more question again on the varieties of the questions that are going to be there. This is one doubt you people might have had while you are looking at the question. See the question now, and this is one question that you would be able to answer correctly. What is the question? Do you have any partial marks for the questions where there are more than one option? For example, the question which is there is, if you select one of the options correctly in 2 blank and 3 blank text completion, you'll get partial marks. Is it true or is it false? Are there any partial marks in the exam? Most of you have been able to answer this correctly. Yes, in GRE, there is nothing like a partial mark. So if the question is right, it needs to be right in all respects. If there are 2 options you need to select, then both the options should be correct. If there are 3 blanks that you need to fill, then all the 3 options for each of these 3 blanks should be correct. So therefore, there is nothing like a partial mark. Yes, all the questions, however, have the same marks. So whether it is a reading comprehension, multiple choice, multi-correct answer question, or if it is a sentence equivalence question, both of them have the same number of marks if you look at it. So it is not that the weightage to one question is more when compared to the weightage to the other. Yes, there is a difficulty level that comes into picture. We will talk about the adaptive nature of the exam at a later date. But if you look at in verbal section, should you be bothered about partial marks? No. Should you be bothered about more questions vis-a-vis, more difficult questions vis-a-vis easier questions, therefore my marks will be more? That is a wrong way to look at it. You should be able to attempt every single question because there are no negative marks. And all questions carry equal marks. So these are a few important things that you should note while you are attempting. Let me pose one more question to you. If you select one of the options correctly in the sentence equivalence questions, now will you get partial marks? This is a question that you should now tell me very quickly what is the right answer. If you select one of the options correctly in the sentence equivalence questions, you will get partial marks. Is it a right thing? Is it true or is it false? I'm pausing a little bit now so that you are all, if you have joined at various stages into this session, I would like all of you to come back and recoup here. So I'm giving a slight pause before I move on to the next section. We have, to summarize till now, talked about the varieties of the questions in the GRE exam, and we said that these are the 7 varieties, total 20 questions in each section with 30 minutes. Why are these questions given? I said at the beginning of the session, the verbal section is not about English alone, it is more about the reasoning part. So the way the questions are given are to check your ability, that reasoning and logical ability. And how it does that, let us look at, understand that little bit so that we know what to prepare for. Let us look at, therefore, the why part of it. Now I have a question on the screen right now on the video itself. This is not a part of the in-class quiz, but I am asking you to read through this question. Raj is lazy but dash. Now most of you would have selected obviously one of the 3 options. But before you answer this question, to check whether is it hardworking or affluent or failure, before I can tell you the right answer, now I am posing one question on the quiz. Go to the in-session quiz now and then try to answer this question. I am not looking at what is the right answer, but how did you read this sentence? Raj is lazy but dash. Which of the words are the most important words in this sentence? Is it Raj and lazy? Is it lazy and but? Or is it but and Raj? Which 2 words are the most important words in this particular question? Now, almost all of you would have marked it is lazy and but. It is coming back now. Why did you select that it is lazy and but? Why are these 2 the most important words? The reason why they are the most important words are, one is telling you an emotion or giving more information about a person called Raj. That person can be anyone under the sun. It can be your name, it can be my name, it can be any name. However, the describing element, that word lazy, becomes important because it is telling me something, and but is giving me the logic in the sentence. So the logic and the describing word, these are the 2 most important words in that sentence, and you have noted only those 2. It's a very short sentence. However, even in a long sentence, the same is true. The sentences are given in GRE which have lot of logic words. When I say logic driven words, words like but, words like however, and, because, therefore, these are the words which tell you the logic and the flow of the direction of the logic. And the other important set of words are all the describing words which are either positive in tone or negative in tone or giving me more information, giving descriptions about something or someone. That is exactly what we should understand. So the 2 important factors in this is, yes, you knew the meaning of the word lazy, And second, you knew the meaning or the logic which is being given by but. If that is the case, then what should be the answer to this one question? I have put in now a question on the screen. So see what should be the answer to this. Why have you eliminated a failure? I am assuming that you have already eliminated a failure as the answer. You immediately said a failure is not the answer. So then why did you do that? Is it because you know that Raj is not lazy? No. Is it because a failure is in the same tone as lazy? Maybe. Now which one of these two reasons you have given as the answer? Is it because a failure is in the same tone as lazy, or is it because Raj is not lazy? Yes, you people are saying that you have selected a failure is not in the same tone as lazy. You selected saying that I have to have a blank which is opposite to lazy, and a failure is not opposite, therefore this should be eliminated. If that is the case, then tell me what should be the reason why you have eliminated the other option. Now you are left with two options, either hardworking or affluent. Which of these two would be the right one? I have broadcast one more question on the screen for you people. See if you are able to answer that. Why have you eliminated the option affluent? Now a few of you have marked affluent as the right answer, might be, but people who have eliminated the word affluent, why did you do that? Is it because I don't know the meaning, or is it because the opposite of lazy is hardworking? Which of the two is the right one for you? Now, should you be eliminating something because you do not know the meaning of? Now look at a little bit of logic again. If I ask you what is the opposite to lazy, you might say active and hardworking. But if I say Raj is lazy but hardworking, does it make logical sense? Can the same person be both lazy and hardworking at the same time? No. Therefore, you should have eliminated hardworking. And whether you know the meaning or not, the right answer here is affluent. And this is precisely where, what are you using to answer this question? You are using logic to answer this question. And what else are you going to use to answer this question? One more element. For that, before I tell you what that one element is, I would like you to answer this question which I am now broadcasting. Yes, the question would be now available on the screen. Raj is lackadaisical but dash. What should be the correct answer for this? I have already told you the logic involved in but. Now tell me what should be the answer. Now, would you people be able to answer this question correctly? Raj is lackadaisical but. I am giving you a couple of minutes for you to answer this. See what should be the answer. Now is it different? Why have I given you this question? Now for you to answer this question, you should know the meaning of lackadaisical. Lackadaisical is coming from lack of interest, or because you don't have interest in anything, you are lethargic or you are inactive, and is actually meaning the same as lazy. So the correct answer choice is still effluent. So now if I ask you for a fill in the blank question, what are the two elements that you need to answer that question correctly? You need two things, or in fact three things. One, yes, logic. The second, in a very long sentence, you need to identify what are the most important words that actually matter. And the last but not the least, in fact very important, is the vocabulary part, which is the meanings of the words. So do you know how the logic is being given in the sentence? Do you know what are the words in the sentence mean, and also the words in the options? So which words to look at and what is the meaning of those words are the ones that are important. This, yes, is the logic. This I call it as the ability to read, and this is vocabulary. So when you look at what is the syllabus for answering the fill in the blank questions, the three things that are important are vocabulary, logic, and the ability to read. And most of you would be at this point of time okay on the logic side, but need to strengthen in your vocabulary and your reading abilities. So now you know the syllabus for the fill in the blank questions. What about the reading comprehension? What is required for you to look at the reading comprehension questions? Read it, this short paragraph that is there on the screen. It has been very cloudy since morning. Hence, this evening when you are going out, carry an umbrella. This was a very short paragraph that I am giving. So, in this paragraph, now if I ask you a question based on this paragraph, can you tell me what is the right answer? The paragraph reads as, it has been very cloudy since morning. Hence, this evening when you are going out, carry an umbrella. What is the answer based on this paragraph? The question is now available on the screen. So see if you are able to view and answer this. What is the advice given? It has been cloudy is the advice, or you're going out this evening is the advice, or carry an umbrella is the advice? What is the advice which is given on this? You can, to just let you know once more, there is a discussion channel, and in case you want some particular questions or doubts of yours to be addressed, please go ahead and post on the discussion forum. Yes, carry an umbrella is the advice. Now read the same paragraph again. I am asking you to read the same paragraph again. And now I am going to ask one more question on the same paragraph. Let me know what is the answer to this one question. What else is the author telling indirectly? Now I am asking one more question. See, look at the question and tell me what should be the answer to this question. The paragraph is the same. It has been very cloudy since morning. Hence, this evening when you're going out, carry an umbrella. What should be the answer to the question? What else is the author telling indirectly? Is it you're going out this evening? Or is it might rain this evening? Which one of these two options is the author telling you indirectly? Yes, it might rain this evening. Now, the minute you say that the rain part of it is being mentioned or you have understood. The author did not say this in so many words. He did not use the word rain, but you could still understand. This ability to understand, reading in between the lines, is what we call as the ability to infer. So what is the final advice? Carry an umbrella is the ability to summarize. So what is the most important idea in this? Yes, this evening when you're going out, carry an umbrella. However, what else is the author indirectly saying? That it might rain. So these are the two which we call as the abilities to summarize and infer. And these are the two things that are checked in the reading comprehension. So if you look at the syllabus now for you to look at the reading comprehension, as I said, it is the ability to summarize and the ability to infer. Along with, I would be adding the vocabulary part. For example, if I go back to the paragraph that is there in the reading comprehension, you would see that there might be a few words like rampant, proliferation, yes, resilient. These are a few words. If you do not know the meanings, it might be difficult for you to understand very quickly. Therefore, if I go back to the syllabus element for the reading comprehension, it is vocabulary also coming into picture. So does logic come into picture? Yes. So the final syllabus for your verbal reasoning is all these: your vocabulary, your logic, your ability to summarize and ability to infer. Having understood that this is what is required for you, how do we then start looking at developing these? The two important things, yes, are to improve the vocabulary. Now you might be having a few videos already with you, or you can look at those videos and all the word lists under an Android app available on Google Play Store as Vocab Prep. This is something that will help you keep in touch with the words as much as possible, and in the subsequent sessions in this week and the next week, we would be looking at varieties of ways to improve vocabulary, varieties of ways to enjoy learning words, and varieties of ways to look at remembering more with few things. Not taxing the mind, not learning by rote, but understand and also remember more words in a short period of time. And that is what you would be looking at in all the vocabulary related sessions. I believe you would be able to view that next week. We are scheduling 2 sessions on the verbal reasoning side, and one next session, to just give you an piece of information, is on the quantitative reasoning section by Aditya. Coming back, so vocabulary, yes, you should be developing. But when I said reading, there is also one more element that is important, is to understand quickly the topic which is given so that it will help you read much faster. This I call it as the familiarity with topics. Now, because you are going to attempt the GRE exam, you should be looking at the topics that usually come in the GRE exam. So don't look at just the newspaper, because the Indian newspapers, or for that matter most of the international newspapers, would look at topics which are current in nature. But in the GRE exam, you would find topics which are not political so much, not the current affairs as such, but they are slightly different. We will talk about the topics that are asked in the Reading 101 session, where I would take you through how to read a sentence, how to understand what are the most important parts of the sentence, how to understand the logic in a sentence. As I said, the ability to summarize, the ability to infer, these are the things that we would be concentrating in our concepts classes. Having said that, do start reading. Now you don't need to look at a boring topic. You can always start your reading with simple novels, simple English, but at the same time, don't look at Indian English, look at slightly American English, because that is what the test is all about. So you can look at a New York Times, or you can look at the Washington Post. A few free articles are available. Don't look at the politics, etc. Go, in fact, look at articles on arts and literature, look at history, look at something which is like a geology. So things which you are not familiar with. Take up such topics and start reading maybe one article in a day. Now this is where in Vocab Prep, the same Android app, you also have the articles which have been taken out and given to you. So go ahead and keep reading the articles from there. They would also be helpful to you. Yes, I hope that we have covered the agenda of today's session in terms of understanding what verbal reasoning in GRE all about, understanding what are all the various concepts that you should be preparing for, and let me see if you are able to answer one question. This is now, having understood the entire thing about the test, let me see if you are able to answer this one question about the time that you are going to get per question. The question I'm just broadcasting right now, please look at it. It reads as, how much time do you expect to have per question in the verbal reasoning section? How much time do you have per question in the verbal reasoning section? Is it 1.5 minutes? Is it more than 1.5 minutes? Or is it less than 1.5 minutes? How much time do you have per question? Now to answer this question, if you have joined in between the sessions, you have 20 questions in the verbal section and you are given 30 minutes to answer this 20 questions. So now tell me what should be the thing. Is it 1.5 minutes? Is it more than 1.5 minutes? Or is it less than 1.5 minutes? Now people might be definitely more than 1.5 minutes. You people would not have answered. But if you have answered exactly 1.5 minutes, you are missing an important piece of information. If you have looked at the questions, not all questions are with single sentences. You have paragraphs, you have passages. So you also actually need to read the passage and then go to the question. So you would be spending at least 3 to 4 minutes per passage. And immediately therefore, your time that is available per question is less than 1.5 minutes. It is in fact less than, it would be rather less than a minute until and unless we don't read fast. So the two immediate sessions in the actual GRE preparation that we are going to start from this weekend, we are going to start one batch from 29th of December, and the regular batch we are going to start from 7th Jan, that is a weekday batch. So the first module we would be concentrating on two elements. How do we read fast? And second, how do you improve your vocabulary by looking at more words in a short period of time? So these are the two things that we would be concentrating in the next coming verbal sessions, so that we place the ground or we put in the foundation to ensure that our GRE level questions are solved accurately and quickly, which is what the Quantitative way is all about. So thank you very much for attending today's session. I hope the session has been useful and valued for you. Your doubts should have been clarified by now. As I said at the beginning of the session, don't look at 160 plus in verbal. That need not be your immediate goal. That should not overwhelm you. If you are coming from a strong English background, put 150 as a starting goal and keep maximizing it. If you are coming from a weak verbal or English background, start with 140 plus and aim to reach 148 to 150. that should be more than enough for you to get into a top university. Yes, we would be talking about the rest of the things in later sessions. I'm leaving you with a trailer for the next section.
The quantitative reasoning section of the GRE is one section that has changed tremendously over the years. 5 years ago, people used to think that if you are an engineer or if you have a quant background, this section could give you 800 out of 800. But along with changing the test pattern to a score of 170, they have also increased the logical component of this section to such an extent that today a lot of engineers struggle to go beyond 165. In this section, we will see how to take your scores into the 170 zone.
There is one last question for you in today's session. See if you are able to answer that one question. Once the trailer is ending, the question would be broadcast. Just this one question so that it would be helping us to improve ourselves and bring in a little more interaction as much as possible for you to take the most out of the session. Please leave your comments in the discussion forum if you need anything more. Thank you very much and good night.
The quantitative reasoning section of the GRE is one section that has changed tremendously over the years. 5 years ago, people used to think that if you are an engineer or if you have a quant background, this section could give you 800 out of 800. But along with changing the test pattern to a score of 170, they have also increased the logical component of this section to such an extent that today a lot of engineers struggle to go beyond 165. In this section, we will see how to take your scores into the 170 zone.